Disneyland is incredible, but there are a lot of changes and updates and rules that you need to know before you go. Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog. So where are all my Disneyland vacationers at? I know y'all are out there because the past few Disneyland videos we've released have been met with a whole lot of comments asking for more West Coast content, and your wish is our command. Today, we're taking you back to Disneyland, Disney California Adventure, and Downtown Disney to give you real talk about what to expect the next time you come here. Both the good, the not so good, and the surprising. So we've got this perfect 3 days in Disneyland guide, right? And in this guide, we talk about how to make the most out of your long weekend in these West Coast parks. But what you might not already know about this guide of ours is that we start it by talking about how different planning for a Disneyland vacation is versus planning a Disney World vacation. One of the most interesting differences is that Disneyland still has park hopping restrictions that you have to abide by. And that's because Disneyland still uses a park reservation system, something Disney World did away with back in January 2024 for date-based ticket guests, though non-date-based ticket guests like annual pass holders, cast members, etc. still use park reservations over in Florida too. Park reservations are pretty straightforward in Disneyland, so you don't have to stress over them too much. When you're going to purchase tickets on the Disneyland website, you'll select your ticket type, how many days worth of tickets you'll need, and how many people you need them for, and you'll select the days on the ticket calendar that you're planning on visiting. Then you'll assign which parks you want to visit on which days. If you're planning on investing in park hopper tickets, the park reservation process works the same. You'll just need to choose the park you want to start your day in. Typically, Disneyland and Disney California Adventure open around 8 a.m., but once 11 a.m. rolls around, those with park hoppers might be able to jump between parks as much as they want to, which is a whole lot easier to accomplish here versus Disney World, since the Disneyland parks are literally right next door to each other. Now, if you don't get up and around until after 11 a.m., don't stress about having to scan into the park you originally made reservations for first. Park pass reservations completely disappear once the clock strikes 11, so just head inside the park you want to explore first, even if that means diverging from your original park plans. While Disneyland's tickets aren't hard to purchase, they can sell out for specific parks, especially during busier times of the year or when some sort of special event is taking place. So you do need to book your reservations ASAP to avoid planning a whole Disneyland vacation during a time that's already had its park passes swiped up. Oh, yeah, and about that perfect 3 days in Disneyland guide, you can pick that up right now, absolutely free, by scanning the QR code you see on the screen or by clicking on the link in the description for DisneyFoodblog.com/Disneyland plans after this. If you've been keeping up on all our recent Disney World videos lately, then you probably know all about the construction currently going on across those parks. So you might be thinking, now's a good time to visit the Disneyland parks while Disney World's busy being all torn up. Well, about that. While Disneyland Park, as far as we know, won't be dealing with any major construction walls yet, Disney California Adventure is getting ready to start a big transformation process across several areas of its park. In fact, it's already started. First of all, the classic red car trolley that used to carry guests down the Buena Vista Street entrance closed for good at the beginning of this year. And that's going to be accommodating Avengers Campus construction. When construction wraps up here, whenever that might be, we're not quite sure yet, it'll double the size of the current Avengers Campus, bringing with it 2 new attractions, Avengers Infinity Defense, which is an immersive dark ride that'll have you joining the Avengers team to take down King Thanos, and Stark Flight Lab, which will have you strapped to this robot arm that'll hoist you into the air in simulated flight. It looks very cool and kind of vomit-inducing. Then there's the closure of Monsters Inc. Mike and Sully to the Rescue, which is uber sad. This dark ride, which once upon a time saved us from the train wreck that was Superstar Limo back in the day, bless its heart, long story, will close in early 2026 to start making way for Disney California Adventure's brand new Avatar Land. This is a land that's going to be different from the Pandora we already know in Animal Kingdom, as it'll be themed more around the new Avatar movies instead of the first one. The land will also include a boat-style attraction with technology similar to what's used on Pirates of the Caribbean, Battle for the Sunken Treasure over in Shanghai Disneyland. Construction for this land is slated to begin in fall 2026, but we still don't know about an official opening date for this one just yet. Just assume it's gonna take a while. Finally, near Paradise Gardens Park and Pixar Pier, Imagineers are gonna start working on a first-of-its-kind Coco attraction, which will be a boat ride with a huge emphasis on music. Makes sense. Again, construction is slated to start up for this ride by fall 2026. So yeah, you can't fully escape the wave of construction going on across the Disney parks worldwide at this point, and who knows, there's a chance we might hear about more Disneyland expansion on the horizon too, especially since D23 is going to be happening out in Anaheim in 2026, so we expect to have a lot of new park announcements and updates for us about that massive Disneyland expansion. But the good news, aside from Monsters, Inc., bless its soul, all the DCA attractions should be up and running still if you decide to visit Disney California Adventure in the future. You just might run across a few extra construction walls during your visit. Disney World and Disneyland might both have premium lightning lanes that'll help you bypass the main queues in exchange for much shorter queue lines, but using lightning lanes on the East Coast parks is a way different experience than it is on the West Coast. For starters, you can purchase and add a lightning lane multi-pass, which will give you access to the lightning lanes of multiple attractions, to your park ticket or vacation package in advance for $32 per ticket per day. This will automatically apply multi-pass to every single one of your park ticket days. Or if you'd rather purchase lightning lanes in Disneyland on a case-by-case basis, you can purchase it via the Disneyland app once you enter one of the theme parks, but there's always the chance you'll have to pay more than that $32 base amount, depending on the potential demand that day. When it comes to single pass lightning lanes, which will give you access to the lightning lanes of one very popular Disneyland or DCA ride, you can only purchase those once you enter one of the parks. If you decide to go ahead and buy multi-pass lightning lanes along with your vacation package or ticket purchases, this does not give you any lightning lane pre-selection advantage. The only advantage to buying these dudes ahead of time is the convenience of it, plus the possibility of paying less for multi-pass versus paying for them the day of. That means right when you enter one of the parks, that's when you'll be able to start making lightning lane selections. You'll select return times for one ride at a time, and once you use a selection, you can make another one ASAP based on what's still available on the Disneyland app. Now, much like Disney World's Old Genie Plus system, you are free to stack your Disneyland lightning lanes if the return time for the ride you choose is over 2 hours away. Once the 2 hours have passed since you made your last lightning lane selection, you'll still be able to choose another lightning lane to hold on to, even if you haven't been able to use the previous one just yet. So that old 160-minute rule, right? As far as the newest Premier Pass option goes, though, Premier Pass in Disney World and Disneyland have a lot more overlap. The key difference for Disneyland is that your Premier Pass will automatically give you all the lightning lanes, multi-pass and single pass for not just one park, but both Disneyland and DCA. Yep, the $300 to $400 cost per person for this service is nothing to sneeze at, but if you only have one day to do as much on the Disneyland scene as possible and you don't know when you'll be back next, at least you don't have to worry about paying that steep cost over and over again for multiple parks like you'd have to do in Disney World. Similar to Disney World, however, you can purchase Premier Pass subject to availability starting 7 days before your park visit, right at 7 a.m. Pacific time. If you stay at one of the 3 Disney-owned resorts, then being able to walk to the parks each day isn't going to be a problem. You're going to be right there, only a few steps away. Or in the case of Disney's Grand Californian Hotel and Spa, you'll have a designated entrance leading you straight into Disney California Adventure. The only problem with booking a Disney-owned resort on the West Coast is that these hotels are priced at a deluxe level, so you'll have to pay a pretty penny to stay on site. That being said, there are several Good Neighbor hotels that partner with Disney, but aren't owned by Disney. That'll still keep you near the Disneyland bubble at a decent walking distance away, minus the super steep price point. But here's my big disclaimer for that. You need to double check how far exactly that Good Neighbor hotel you're looking to book actually is from the parks. Because there's a big difference between a 5 to 10 minute walk back to your room versus a 20 to 30 minute walk when it's like 11 p.m. or later and you've already racked up 20,000 steps during the day. When you get to the Good Neighbor Hotel portion of the Disneyland website, you'll see a little filters section toward the top of the page. Tap on the Distance to Disneyland Resort option and tap on the Across the Street toggle for the absolute closest Good Neighbor hotels available, usually over there on Harbor Boulevard. Even then, I'd take these hotel addresses and plug them into your Google Maps or whatever GPS you want to use just to see how far each of these will be from the park entrances and maybe even the downtown Disney entrance. So, you know how a stay at a Disney World resort will get you early entry into the parks, or a stay at a deluxe Disney World resort will get you extended evening hours to hang out in the parks for a little bit, even after they're closed? That's not going to be the case with a Disneyland hotel. Not anymore, at least. Disneyland's hotels do not offer extended evening hours for their guests, and starting January 4th, 2026, they're doing away with their early theme park entry perk too. But hey, all hope isn't lost. Instead of an early entrance into one of the Disneyland parks, guests will receive one complimentary Lightning Lane per person per stay instead. This Lightning Lane will be part of the Lightning Lane Multi-Pass, meaning it does exclude single pass options like Radiator Springs Racers and California Adventure and Star Wars Rise of the Resistance in Disneyland. But it still includes other popular multi-pass Lightning Lanes like Indiana Jones Adventure, Space Mountain, and Tiana's Bayou Adventure, as well as Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout, Incredicoaster, and Web Slingers. So if you're really wanting to spend extra time in Disneyland, your best bet is to go to one of the Disneyland After Dark parties whenever they're offered. Disneyland After Dark are separately ticketed events that give you after-hours access to Disneyland, as well as your 3-hour pre-party mix-in access even before the event begins. Disneyland After Dark themes vary, but one thing you can guarantee with all of them is exclusive entertainment, ride access with much shorter wait times, limited time event snacks, themed merchandise, and really, really good vibes. The Disneyland website will update its Disneyland After Dark page once it's ready to spill more about the details of their upcoming events, but if you're already signed up for our free DFB newsletter, we'll be sure to keep you updated immediately once we learn about them too, because they do sell out pretty quickly. So you don't have to keep going back and checking on the After Dark status yourself, just join the newsletter. Don't worry, Disneyland loves out-of-town guests, of course, but Disneyland is definitely a locals park, meaning many of the more frequent visitors have some sort of magic key. That's their annual pass, meaning they'll just jump over to one of the parks in the evening, grab a drink, ride a ride, do some shopping, call it good. So if you're visiting from out of town, plan to get up and around to hit up your must-do rides in the morning and on the weekdays before the influx of locals come over to hang out in the evenings and the weekends. So this is a piece of Disneyland advice that bubbles up during a lot of our DFB videos, but that's just because it makes me so nervous thinking about someone out there taking their first ever trip to Disneyland and unknowingly booking a trip during a time that the castle fireworks aren't happening. In Magic Kingdom, the Cinderella Castle Nighttime Spectacular is pretty much a nightly occurrence unless another after-hours event is going to wind up cutting the Magic Kingdom day short. But in Disneyland, the Sleeping Beauty nighttime show isn't always a guarantee. Sometimes you'll get the projections and fireworks, and sometimes you'll just get the projections minus the fireworks. So you're going to want to make sure you check the Disneyland hours and events calendar online before your trip to see what's going to be available when you're there. And while we're on the subject, Disneyland's other nighttime show, Fantasmic, has hours that vary as well, because why would they make it easy? Fantasmic takes place across the rivers of America, and it is a very cool one to see. Water projections, a massive pirate ship, and Mickey Mouse, of course. If you've never seen Disneyland's version of Fantasmic, you're definitely going to want to. That being said, Fantasmic also has an interesting schedule you're going to need to be aware of. During busier times of the year, Fantasmic might play twice nightly, once before the castle show and once after. Typically, the Fantasmic crowds are easier to navigate during the second show, since people tend to knock out both performances earlier on and then head back home or back to their hotel. However, there are other times during the year when Fantasmic may only happen once per night, or not at all. So if Fantasmic is a priority for you, let me emphasize this. Check the calendar. During the slower seasons, Fantasmic may still make an appearance during the weekends, Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, but if you want to make sure you see the show no matter what day of the week you're there, you may be better off visiting the parks when Disney's expecting there to be a higher demand. Maybe I'm just extra jumpy, but some of Disneyland's rides feel terrifying, and I can only imagine they'd be even more terrifying for little kids. Just to prove my point here, this is my official top 10 ranking list of what I believe are Disneyland's and DCA's scariest rides, from little scary to big scary, just so you know which rides in particular you might want to prepare your kids for, or skip entirely. Note though, a lot of these rides on the list are also some of the best rides that the Disneyland parks have to offer, so maybe just watching a POV YouTube video online will be enough to prepare you guys for the potential spooks along the way, so that you can still ride them and love them just as much as so many other Disney folks do. So number 10 on our list, Pirates of the Caribbean in New Orleans Square. This one's not too spooky for me personally, but I can see how a kid who's going on this dark ride for the first time and not expecting it to drop at 2 different times might be intimidated by it. Plus, skulls and pirates and dead men not telling tales. Some of us out there might be used to all that as Disney folk, but that's still dark stuff, y'all. Number 9, Rise of the Resistance in Galaxy's Edge. So real members of the First Order capturing you and all of a sudden, like stowing you away in a prison cell can be a little bit confusing and a little bit scary to little kids because, it's play acting at its finest, but kids might not get that it's just a show. Also, there's that little drop in the middle of what you thought was just a dark ride. Rise of the Resistance might be one of the coolest Disney rides to exist, but brace yourself for some First Order interrogation and escape pod action. Number 8, Pinocchio's Daring Journey in Fantasyland. Look, I thought the Disney animated Pinocchio film was creepy enough as it is when I was a kid. Between Monstro the Whale and the kids getting turned into donkeys, this is definitely a dark ride in more than one way. And I have ridden this alone at night, and it is a little creepy. I'm not gonna lie. Number 7, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride in Fantasyland. Now, this is probably my favorite ride in all of Disneyland. Just don't question it. But there is something to be said about this dark ride ending in literal hell, if you know what I mean. So be sure to kind of prep everybody for that. Okay, definitely terrifying. Number 6, Pixar Pal Around in Disney California Adventure. Maybe a Ferris wheel doesn't sound scary to you, but if you choose one of the swinging gondolas here, be prepared for a Ferris wheel ride that feels like you're going to be slung off the spokes at any second. It is very fun, it is very different, but if you're already battling a fear of heights, maybe just stick with the stationary ones. That's about all I can handle personally. Number 5, Indiana Jones Adventure in Adventureland. Now, honestly, if I were being completely personal about this whole list, Pixar Pal Around swinging gondolas would probably be at like number 2 or 1 for me, but I know a lot of you love them, so they're sitting at number 6, and we'll put Indiana Jones next. First, you make the Idol of Mara mad, because they were very specific about what you weren't supposed to do and you did it anyway. And then suddenly you're on a thrilling adventure, barely escaping poison arrows and rolling boulders and crumbling bridges and so many snakes. It's a Disneyland favorite, but don't expect a ride inspired by Indiana Jones to be a tame one. Number 4 is Haunted Mansion in New Orleans Square. Now, the whole grim grinning ghost thing is silly spooky, but this classic dark ride ended up even higher on my list for that new ghostly bride animatronic alone. The throbbing heart, the vacant expression, the spectral flames. I'm sending that gal my therapy bills. Now, we're going to put Matterhorn bobsleds in here, and if I had the choice between encountering Animal Kingdom's Yeti at Expedition Everest or Disneyland's Abominable Snowman Harold at Matterhorn bobsleds, I'm choosing the Yeti. Now, the Yeti is bigger and more intimidating, but you whip around the corner during the second half of Matterhorn bobsleds, and suddenly there's an Abominable Snowman loudly growling in your face and causing me to jump out of my skin every time. Now, some of you might be like, AJ, that's not scary, you're just silly. But I will say that the way that this particular ride kind of bangs you around can be very scary for some of us, and a major reason why a lot of us don't ride it anymore. Number 2 is Guardians of the Galaxy Monsters After Dark in Disney California Adventure. Technically, this is the scariest ride on the list, but the Monsters After Dark Halloween overlay for Mission Breakout is only available in the evenings throughout the Halloween season, so there's a good chance you might not encounter this at all. That being said, the drops on this ride, whether you're going on the Monster overlay or the classic version, are enough to flip your stomach before and during the ride. Though maybe you'll find Mission Breakout less scary than Tower of Terror, since you'll be dropping to the beat of popular 80s tunes. Who's to say? And Snow White's Enchanted Wish. Now, this ride is, of course, a kiddie dark ride, but I will say I still have flashbacks to when it was Snow White's Scary Adventure, which they still have, by the way, in Tokyo Disneyland. Still absolutely terrifying. But what they still have here in Disneyland is that evil queen whipping around in her hag form. Very scary. This is one that you just, prepare the kids for. Disneyland might only take you 3 days to fully cover, but there's so much to see and do around Anaheim and California beyond the parks. If you're willing to do some extra driving and brave the California traffic, you can experience stuff like Newport Beach, that's 14 miles from Disneyland, Crystal Cove State Park, Universal Studios Hollywood, Last Bookstore, 25 miles away, the Grauman's Chinese Theater, 40 miles away, and more. Just keep in mind that 15 to 40 miles in Cali speak is different than traveling 15 to 40 miles maybe around your town back home, you're going to have to brace yourself for some major traffic jams. Like major, meaning a lot of your itinerary will need to factor in the time it actually takes to get to some of these places, which could be an hour or two on an average day. Now, to avoid peak traffic times, try getting out on the road before 7 a.m., since morning work commutes tend to be at their peak starting around 7:30 and or around 2 to 4 p.m., post-morning rush and before the rush hours home. When traveling back from whatever sightseeing you've been up to that day, your best bet to avoid evening traffic is to travel anytime after 8 p.m. when traffic finally starts to thin out, so go get some dinner. So I'm not saying that you're going to endure a snowstorm in California or anything, but don't underestimate those winter or early spring or late fall temps, because on average, those seasonal temps will probably range around the lower 50s to upper 60s, if not lower than that. So much like we recommend doing for Disney World during Orlando's cooler seasons, definitely pack those layers if you're going to be visiting the parks during these times. This includes stuff like Spirit jerseys and jackets and beanies and leggings, leg warmers. I don't know if you even have still leg warmers, but if you want a more unique lightweight article of clothing that'll have sleeves and a design perfect for your upcoming Disneyland vacation, check out our long-sleeved collection over on dfbstore.com. We got lots of great Disney styles ranging from Christmas designs and ride-inspired stuff and character-influenced tees and more. No need to simply wish that you knew these Disneyland things anymore. Now you know them and can apply your new wealth of knowledge to your upcoming vacation. But if you want to keep on expanding your Disneyland well of knowledge, be sure to check out one of our other Disneyland videos next. Like 50 secrets that'll completely change your Disneyland trip, or 50 things everyone should eat in Disneyland. See, told you we've been doing a lot of Disneyland stuff lately. And don't forget to download our free Perfect Days at Disneyland guide over at disneyfoodblog.com/DisneylandPlans. Thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks for watching. As always, this is AJ for Disney Food Blog, and we'll see you real soon.